Okay, so this is the Form I-912, Request for Fee Waiver. You can find the form at the USCIS website. It has its own web page. Here's the form where you access it, and then right below it are the instructions. Always be sure to read the instructions for every form. I can't stress that enough. In the instructions, it will also tell you which forms you may request a fee waiver for. So right here, you may file this form to request a fee waiver for any of the following benefit requests or services. So if you're filing an immigration form and you're wondering if you can apply for a fee waiver, just come to the form instructions. All right. So part 1, basis for your request. So you have to choose one of these 3 options when you're applying for a fee waiver. I recommend only choosing one option. Even if you think 2 apply to you, pick the option that you think is easiest to prove. And then only fill out those sections of the form and provide evidence for only that option. So let's review the options. Number 1, I am, my spouse is, or the head of household living in my household is currently receiving a means tested benefit. Option 2, my household income is at or below 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. And number 3, I have a financial hardship. So depending on the option you choose, you'll see here in parentheses that there are instructions about what parts of the form you need to fill out. So if you pick option 1, you only need to fill out parts 2 through 4 and then parts 7 through 10. If you pick option 2, you only need to complete parts 2 through 3, part 5, and parts 7 through 10. And then if you choose option 3, you only need to complete parts 2 through 3 and parts 6 through 10. So part 2, that's a section everyone has to fill out, no matter which of the 3 options you choose here. Everyone has to fill out part 2. So I've put in my information here. I've made up some numbers. Of course, I didn't use my real social security number or my real date of birth. But here, number 1, you'll write your full legal name. Your last name goes in the first box, then your first name and a middle name if you have any. 2, other names used. You need to provide all the names you use, including nicknames, aliases, or a maiden name if you're married and you changed your name when you got married. 3, alien registration number, if any. Some of you won't have one of these, but most immigrants do. And it's that 8 or 9-digit number that's assigned to your immigration file. You can find the A number on all of your immigration paperwork. 4, USCIS online account number, if any. Again, not everyone's going to have one of these, but if you do have an online account number, be sure to include it. Number 5, your date of birth. Remember, in the United States, you put the month first, then the day, and then the year. And 6, your social security number if you have any. Okay, part 2, your marital status. Single, never married, married, divorced, widowed, marriage annulled, separated, or other. Then number 3, applications and petitions for which you are requesting a fee waiver. In this table, you're going to fill out your information if you're the one requesting a fee waiver, and anyone else who is included on your application that's requesting a fee waiver. For example, family members. So here I've filled it out again, using myself as a sample. So here you put your full name, your A number, if any, your date of birth, the relationship to you. Here it says self. It's already autofilled to self because I am myself. And then the form for which you're seeking a fee waiver. So if you wanted to fill in, if there are other people applying for a fee waiver with you, like your spouse, you would fill in, the spouse's name, the spouse's A number, their date of birth, and then you would write spouse here, and then the form that they're, you know, requesting a fee waiver for. And then, of course, you do the same with the child, like include your child's full name here, and then relationship to you, child, as well as the A number, date of birth, forms. You get the idea. It's pretty straightforward. So right here in this chart, I'm pretending I'm applying for an N400 naturalization. But you might, if you're applying for a green card, you could write I-485, I-765, and I-131. If you're applying, well, it doesn't fit. If you're applying for the work permit with the pending green card and then the travel document, you can fit, you can put as many forms here as possible. And then right here, total number of forms, I would change it to 3. But yeah. Okay. So then part 4. You only need to fill out part 4 if you chose number 1. Okay? So again, go back to these instructions, these parentheses right here, to figure out what you need to fill out. Because if you didn't choose number 1, then you would just skip part 4. But I'll talk you through part 4 real quick if this is what you're applying a fee waiver, if this is why you're applying for a fee waiver. So a means tested benefit. What is that? So a means tested benefit is a government benefit that you receive based on your income. That's just the general definition. So examples are SNAP, formerly called food stamps, temporary assistance for needy families, supplemental security income. If you receive something different from this, then just consult with the benefit granting agency in your state or your local town and determine if it is a means tested benefit. So again, this can be you, your spouse, or the head of your household. So whoever receives the benefit, you need to fill in their name here, their relationship to you, the name of the agency awarding the benefit, the type of benefit, the date the benefit was awarded, and the date the benefit expires. And then you need to provide a document confirming all of this information. So if it's your spouse who's getting the means tested benefit, you need to include a letter from the agency or some sort of document with your spouse's name on it, the name of the agency, the type of benefit, and the date the benefit was awarded and the date that it expires. You need to show that they're currently receiving the means tested benefit. Also, if you're applying based on your spouse getting a means tested benefit, you should also provide a copy of your marriage certificate to prove to USCIS that they are in fact your spouse. And if this is the option you're choosing, part 4 is the only part you need to fill out. So you can just skip the rest of the sections and, go to part 7 and sign. So this is where you would sign and you're done. So now let's go back. So let's talk about option 2. My household income is at or below 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. Complete parts 2 through 3, part 5, and then parts 7 through 10. So let's skip to part 5. Oh, I think it starts on this page actually. Yeah, all right. All right, and here's another reminder. If you selected item number 2 in part 1, complete this section. Number 1, your employment status. Are you employed? Full-time, part-time, seasonal, self-employed? Check this box. If you're unemployed or not employed, you'll check the second box. If you're retired, you'll check the third. And if the previous 3 don't adequately categorize your current employment status, then pick other, but you need to explain. Number 2, if you are currently unemployed or you are currently receiving unemployment benefits, check yes or no, depending on, the answer. And then number 3, if you are married or separated, does your spouse live in your household? Yes or no? A, if you answer no, does your spouse provide any financial support to your household? Check yes or no. Number 4, are you the person providing the primary financial support for your household? Yes or no? And then they'll have a chart for you to fill out. So right here, I've already started. So I'm going to start with myself first, my full name, my date of birth, the relationship to me, which is myself, if I'm married, a full-time student, and if any income earned by me is counted towards the household income. So if you don't know how to fill this out, you should first start with your income tax return. Okay, here's a sample of the IRS 2021 1040. Okay, remember when you filed this, you have your name, if you're married, your spouse's name, and then you have your dependents listed here. You could just copy your 1040. Okay, so right here I already wrote child. So let's, if I have a child, I would write their full name, their date of birth, their relationship to me, if they're married, no, full-time student, probably yes. And then if they earn any income, probably no. And then so on and so forth. I would fill in, who's ever on my tax return. Let's see. People who you should include, you, the head of your household, if that's not you, your spouse, anyone else who is living with you and who is dependent on your income, your spouse's income, or the head of your household's income. Anyone who's unmarried and under 21, or unmarried but over 21 and under 24 but a full-time student, anyone who's legally disabled and who lives with you, just anyone who lives with you and who depends on you for financial support. That's who you should include in this chart. And if you run out of space, you can go to the very last page of the form and continue listing the household members that rely on you. And then be sure to include the final number right here. Okay, number 5, your annual income. So take whatever on your W-2 or your 1099, or if you're the only person in your household that works, whatever on your tax return. You'd enter it in the box right here. Number 6, annual income of all family members. So if someone else in your household works, you should pull their wages from their W-2s and add them together and include that amount right here. And then number 7, total additional income or financial support. And then they list examples: parental support, spousal support, child support, educational stipends, royalties, pensions, unemployment benefits, Social Security benefits, veterans benefits, financial support from adult children, dependents, other people living in the household, and then, of course, anything else. And then on the next page, total household income. So add the amounts from items 5, 6, and 7, which is what we just talked about. So 5, 6, and 7 should all add up to be 8, your total household income. And then, has anything changed since the date you filed your federal tax returns? For example, your marital status, income, or number of dependents. Sometimes this is true, and you need to, tell the truth, especially if it's going to help you. For example, let's say you recently got laid off because of COVID-19. You would check yes, and then you could write, I recently was laid off due to COVID-19. My tax return does not, show my true current income. Or, let's say you are now working part-time. You could write, I am now working part-time. As a result, I'm not making as much money. Okay, so this space you can explain. And then the types of documents you can submit to prove your income. Your 1040, your federal tax return, that's the best proof. So if you can submit that, just submit that. And it's up to date and it shows your household, and it perfectly reflects what's in this chart and, the information you provided here, then just submit your tax return and call it a day. If your tax return doesn't reflect your current income, you could submit a W-2, you could submit a month's amount of pay stubs. You could ask your employer to write you a letter stating your position and your salary. Just think of anything that will actually prove your true income, and you can submit that. So, how you know you qualify for a fee waiver based on your income is you can go to the USCIS website, or you can just Google Form I-912P. Guidelines for fee waiver request. And it will tell you how much you have to make to qualify for a fee waiver. So you'll see here, this box right here is for the 48 states. This one's for Alaska and this one's for Hawaii. So I'm going to do the 48 states and I'll show you how to read it. So let's say there are 2 people in your household, 2 people on your income tax return. Your adjusted gross income needs to be below this amount for you to qualify for a fee waiver. We're going to go back to this sample again. This is a sample of the 1040, 2021. We're going to find adjusted gross income right here, this line. Okay, so this is the amount that you're looking at, and then compare it to what's on this chart. So if they're only, let's just say it's you and your spouse, only 2 people, you're applying for naturalization and you make below $26,130 and it clearly shows that on your tax return. All you need to do is make sure the chart and the on Form I-912 matches what's on your tax return and provide a copy of your tax return, and boom, it will be very easy for you to get a fee waiver. So they have household sizes all the way up to 8 people. So if it's you and your spouse, and then you have 6 kids, you need to make below $66,990 to qualify for a fee waiver. And then if you go beyond 8, you just need to add an additional $6,800 for each person. So again, this form is Form I-912P supplement, and you can use this form to help you figure out if you have a strong case for a fee waiver based on income. All right, so then the third option, let's go back to page 1. I have a financial hardship. That's the third option. And then part 6. So I'm going to be very honest with you. I think you should never choose this option because it's so hard to prove financial hardship, and it takes a lot of time to prove financial hardship because you have to provide documents of all your assets and liabilities. So I always tell my clients, we're not picking financial hardship. You either have a means tested benefit or your income is 150% below the federal poverty guidelines. That's it. If you don't qualify for a fee waiver based on those 2 things, then it's best to just borrow the money and pay the filing fee, or just pay the filing fee yourself to save time, because this is a lot of work, and you'll see that once you read the instructions. So number 1, if you or any family members have a situation that has caused you to incur expenses, debts, or loss of income, describe the situation in the box below. So you need to write out why you're experiencing a financial hardship here. And then 2, you have to provide all your cash or assets that you can quickly convert to cash. And then you have to provide proof of all of that. So if you have a checking account or a car that you can sell, you need to list those here, but then you also need to provide proof that you actually have that stuff. So not only are you filling out this form, but you're having to gather documents to prove everything that you're saying. So you can already see that this is a way more work than the other two options. And then finally, number 3, they want to know your monthly expenses and liabilities. And here they list all the different examples of what they're talking about, but then they have other. So if your liabilities and expenses exceed what's listed here, you need to provide, the rest of the information and then provide proof that these actually are your expenses and liabilities. So it's a huge endeavor to apply for a fee waiver based on financial hardship. It takes up a lot of time. And on top of that, it's not even guaranteed that USCIS is going to approve your fee waiver request. They reject fee waiver requests all the time. So it's just, I think, prudent to choose the first 2 options, means tested benefit or low income. And then if you don't qualify for a fee waiver based on the first 2, just pay it. Just pay the filing fee. And if you don't have the money, ask a family member if you can borrow money in order to save time and all the work. Because if you submit a fee waiver request and it gets denied, USCIS just sends your entire application back. They haven't even started, they won't start looking at your application, right? They'll reject it. So I don't like financial hardship, and I never choose it, ever. I think maybe one time I tried to do financial hardship when I was first starting out as an attorney, and that was the first and last time I ever did it because it was just so much work, and I think USCIS denied it. So I don't, even though this is an option, I don't recommend it. All right, and then part 7, we're in the home stretch. So this is what you, the requester, fill out and sign. You can check 1A here if you can read English, or 1B if you used an interpreter, check this box and then write the language, like if you use Spanish or Mandarin. You'll fill that in. And then if you had an attorney help you fill this out, you would check 2. My name are automatically populated there. And then here, your contact information, your cell phone number, email address, etc. And then here is where you sign, basically attesting that everything that you've submitted is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. And then if any of the family members are on your application too, they should sign here. They should write their name here and then sign it and date it. Part 8, this is for a family member if they used an interpreter. So let's say you speak English fluently, you didn't need an interpreter, but your family member did need an interpreter, then your family member would have to fill out this separate section. Okay, and sign here. And then part 9 is the interpreter, their information, and they have to sign. They have to fill out all of their contact information, and they'll sign here. And then number 9 is for the person preparing the form. A lot of the times this is someone who is an attorney, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a family member or a friend helping you, and they still need to, fill out their information. Okay, and then they would sign here. And then this very last page right here, this is extra space, in case you need extra space.